Welcome back. My name is Kelsey and I like to talk about books. It is November 3rd and unfortunately October is done. It's wrapped up and it's done. It came and went too fast for my liking personally, but I did read quite a lot in October. I read 5 books, which is more than I usually read. If you're new here, I'm a slow reader. I mainly read like maybe 2 or 3 books a month. I just fall into slumps really easily, number one, and I try to be very methodical about what books I choose to read, which also leads into slumps. But this month last month, October, I read quite a lot, so I figured I'd do a wrap-up. I don't normally do like monthly wrap-ups, but something was in the air in October that made me read a lot. So if you see me looking off to the side, it's because I have my Notion pulled up with all my ratings and stuff. So the first book I read was Lost and Lassoed by Lila Sage, and I don't have a physical copy because I read it on an ebook through my library. And I read this book in one sitting, a Saturday when my roommate and friend was away on a trip, and I literally don't know what made me rent the book, sit down and read it. I'm so serious, without getting up, full way through. Insane. Lost and Lassoed is the 3rd book in Lila Sage's Rebel Blue Ranch series. I read the first 2 over summer, and you know, I did read it all in one sitting, this one, but those books are like, they're entertaining, but as far as writing in and of itself, not great. So I gave Lost and Lassoed 3 stars, also because it felt a little rushed, it felt a little fast, and maybe, again, that could be because I read it all in one sitting, but it was very fast. The romance was really fast too. I thought I'd like it a bit more, but I am going to read the last one, which I'm excited about because I like those 2 characters. So hopefully I read that before the end of the year, but I'm not itching to read it fast. I think it'll just fall into my lap one Saturday when I have nothing to do and want to read it in one sitting. And then the next book I read and finished was Salvage the Bones by Jesmyn Ward. This book I gave 5 stars, which is right. I read this with my book club here at FSU for convention, because Jesmyn Ward is going to be the common reader in March is when our conference is, so I really hope I get to meet her. This book is about a family living in Mississippi in a fictitious town called Boss Sauvage in Mississippi, and it's following their preparation leading up to and slightly after Hurricane Katrina. So this story has a lot of different themes in it, and I'm saying that because I wrote a paper about it, so there's a lot to unpack in this, even though it's kind of like short. It's only 12 chapters for 12 days, so there's not, you wouldn't think there would be a lot of themes, but Jesmyn Ward really does a great job of crafting this novel. It kind of addressed a sort of blind spot in my knowledge, especially about like racism in America, systemic, and I did not know a lot about Hurricane Katrina beforehand. I knew it was a bad storm, of course. I think everyone knows it's a bad storm, but I never knew that what made it so bad was how the government handled it afterward. So after reading this, I watched Hurricane Katrina Race Against Time, the Hulu, I believe, docu-series, and that was a little life-changing. Like I never knew, so I'm so glad that I got to read this, watch that show, and I also got to talk about it among other peers in my book club. So this was a really great book. I annotated it quite a bit, especially because I wrote a paper on it. So hopefully my paper gets selected to be read by me, and hopefully I get to meet her. But yes, Salvage the Bones, 5 stars. Everyone should read this. Everyone should watch the series. Yeah. So the next book I read was Breath of Life by Clarice Lispector. This was my first foray into Lispector. I picked this up because Lover of Pages, or Leah Crumpton, she loves Clarice Lispector, and I love her, and I always like the books that she likes. So I picked this up. I definitely should not have started here though, in the backlog of Clarice Lispector, because this was published after her death. It's very abstract. It's at its core, it's kind of about being a writer and like creating characters and life and death and creation. And this was written while she was dying, I believe, of cancer. So it's very like meta and abstract. And even though it's short, it did take me a little while to get through, but that's also because I was also like underlining basically every page. And yeah, this was very good. I gave it 5 stars. I can't wait to read more of Clarice Lispector, and I can't wait to revisit this after I've read more of her like conventional works, because this is very like unconventional, again, abstract, kind of very interesting. So yes. And then around the middle of October, I realized I had not been in the mood at all, as in the spooky mood. So I finally read Carmilla by Sheridan Le Fanu. This has been on my TBR on my shelf for literally years, and this was finally the October that I read it. I was perfectly in the mood for this. I also read it because it was short and would get me in the mood fast, and that it did. I gave this 4 stars. This is like my first kind of classic vampire story that I've read, and I don't know what I was expecting. I know so many people on like dark academia, gothic book talk love this book like a lot. I don't know. I really liked the suspense, the gothic elements of it, but it was just a little short, like a little undercooked. I don't know if that's harsh, like please don't come for me. I liked it. I did like it, but it's like, you know, it's short, so it's very confined to being short, but I still think even in being short, it did what it needed to do very well. So yes, I read Carmilla, Sheridan Le Fanu, and then I read Bride. And then I read Bride by Ali Hazelwood. And you know, earlier for Lost and Lassoed, I'm not really like a big romance reader. Anytime I read romance, I kind of end up hate reading them because I'm like, this is a little ridiculous. This book changed my opinions on romance. I know that's like so cringe and funny because this is like a werewolf vampire romance. Why was this like actually so fantastic? Why was this fantastic? Okay, I gave this 4.5 stars, and I only took stars down because at the end of the 3rd act, it kind of got a little like cringe. Okay, there's a level of cringe in romance that I can operate in, but by the end, especially with like the twist and the monologuing, like if you've read this, you will kind of know what I speak of. The monologue part in the 3rd act after the plot twist was a little like, okay, like I'm just reading, you're showing not telling, or you're telling not showing, and I guess that makes sense because like villain monologue, but it did feel very like, and now let me tell you my entire plan, start to finish, and here's everything. So like, yeah, that was a little like, all right, girl, all right. But everything else about this was actually so insanely good. The buildup was like as slow as I needed it to be. I love a slow burn, and I think this was almost the perfect pace. Like maybe it was a bit fast, but it was a perfect pace, and it makes sense with the whole like werewolf thing that it went a little bit faster than your normal slow burn. But and also just the way they are with each other was so cute, and like, oh my god, it was so cute. Like it was a bit of a humiliation ritual to pull this out of my backpack and read it, but I don't know, I think Ali Hazelwood like put a little bit of crack cocaine in this book because I didn't care if people saw that I was reading in public. I just wanted to read it so badly. I was flying through this. Yeah, I can't wait to read Mate. I'm actually very excited to read Mate. I might read that like next year. Like I'm not gonna read it soon, but I do want to. I do want to read it, and maybe I'll read a bit more Ali Hazelwood. This was my first Ali Hazelwood, so Bride. I just want to talk about the book that I'm reading right now. This is Belladonna by Adeline Grace. If you watched the video where I talked about all the books I brought to college, you might realize that this was not on there. I asked my mom to ship this to me because after reading like in the middle of Bride, I'm on a gothic book reading session right now. So I asked my mom to send this to me. And this is about, I think, a girl who can just like see death and she sees ghosts and everything. And I'm not very far in yet. I'm not very far in yet, but I'm already really liking this because it reminds me a bit of White Pine, the Minecraft ARG. Speaking of, I need my next episode now. Where's it at? I binged watched that later in September because I was in a spooky mood. So I started like pre-gaming Halloween essentially. And that Minecraft show kind of hits everything I love, like all the niche aspects I love, like maids in a spooky manner, and like memory loss and the detective. You know what I'm talking about. But this kind of has that same aesthetic, that same vibe, and I don't know if it'll keep having that, but I already really like this. Like they're on the train right now in this book and it's reminding me so much of White Pine, which is kind of like my obsession right now. Like I need another episode now. Yeah, so I'm reading Belladonna right now. I also started A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson on my ebook, Libby. That book is crazy. I might put it on hold for right now because I'm reading a lot. Also for book club, we're reading Hunger Games, so that's like 3 books is a little too much for me at any given time to be reading at once. But I am already liking A Dowry of Blood. The writing is so beautiful, so poetic. Like I want a physical copy now, but I'm gonna finish it on Libby before I buy a copy. But yeah, so these are all the books I read in October, the book I want to finish soon. Yeah, I don't know what was in the air in October that I read so much, but I did. And I'm feeling like the rest of the year I'm also going to read a lot too. I've been in a reading kick a little bit, which is unusual for me. So yeah, that's everything I read in October. I hope everyone else is reading spooky books. I think reading spooky books in fall is perfect, but to be fair, I also like to read out of season as well. I am definitely one to pick up a gothic book during summer, which is when I read Wuthering Heights 2 years ago. I read Jane Eyre over the summer, so I don't confine myself to seasons, but it is great to pull out a kind of spooky book when the wind is cold and I'm shivering in the North Florida cold. But yeah. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Yeah, have a nice day. Bye.